So Axios here with an interesting report on President Trump's unusual style of running the White House. And I stress the word unusual. Mike Allen, writing for Axios, writes, "To the White House insiders, this is the most dangerous phase of Donald Trump's presidency so far. From the brewing trade war with China that he denies is a trade war, to the perilously spontaneous summit with North Korea, which, oh, look, you get Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un into a room, well, that's going to go fantastic. Look, I'm in favor of diplomacy, but at the same time, Donald Trump's an idiot. Kim Jong-un is insane. Oh, boy. I'm just a little bit worried, okay? I'm just a little bit worried. But anyway, now, obviously, this has got a lot of people in the White House a little bit concerned. In fact, according to Axios, Trump's closest confidants speak with an unusual level of concern because before they were more bemused than anything. Oh, look at that. It's Donald Trump doing his thing. It's just Trump being Trump. I mean, that's what we wanted. That's what we like. I mean, he's super entertaining anyway, so great. Let Trump be Trump. Well, now they're not only concerned, but also alarmed. And they admit to being confused about the president will do next and why he will do those things next. Because, look, Trump is incredibly unpredictable, which I guess can be a good thing. I guess can be a bad thing. Because you don't know, he might go to a left-wing position accidentally like he did on TPP. And that ended up actually being an actual good thing. And he's even been talking about pulling troops out of Syria and the Middle East. Great! If he spontaneously ends up in a left-wing position, great. But that's also part of the fact that he has no ideology and he has no policy positions and he actually doesn't understand anything. So that's a downside. That's a huge downside. But anyway, now as far as the staffers go, look, if you were a staffer inside the White House, you'd be worried too. I mean, look, if you had no idea what the president of the United States is going to do, and he ends up doing the opposite of what he said before, well then yes, obviously you'd be very, very worried, right? Very concerned. And that's exactly what seems to be happening. Look, if Bill Clinton was a weather vane, right, when it came to policy, then Donald Trump is a wacky inflatable tube man with a bad hairpiece taped on. That's the reality of what's going on in the White House. Again, you don't know where the hell he's going to go. Where at least with Bill Clinton, you're like, okay, we know he's going to go towards more popular positions when it comes to polling, but he's also going to secretly work with Wall Street. And that's exactly what he did with deregulation on Wall Street, and of course deregulation of telecommunications, right, with the 1996 Telecommunications Act, which, by the way, disastrous. But anyway, for the most part, he did try to go with the polls. And so, the polls at that time, of course, led him to things like welfare reform, which was also disastrous. But I'm not going to get into Bill Clinton too much. Anyway, look, the point is you don't know where he's going to go. And it's because, again, he has no policy, has no ideology. He has no core beliefs. It's all about, hey, what's going to benefit me the most? What's going to benefit me? What's going to benefit my business? What about my ratings? I got to get good ratings. That's the thing that's really, really important. Now, again, that means that he could potentially do good things, as I mentioned before, TPP. And look, Syria, he could pull out of Syria. He could also pull out of NAFTA, which would be great. Yes, let's pull out of NAFTA. NAFTA is partly responsible for destroying the middle class. Great. Yes, let's do those positions. And I'm still waiting for him to actually do that position. But he could also end up doing worse deals than TPP and also start disastrous trade wars. That's because he has no idea what he's doing. He's not a smart person. So now, naturally, of course, as I said before, his staffers are very, very concerned, not just with policy, but again, Trump has a habit of saying one thing and doing the next. And what's funny is that he says one thing, he sends his staff out to actually defend it, and then turns around on a dime and leaves these people out there with their nuts hanging in the wind. So if you work for someone like that, you're going to be like, oh man, I'm worried about what's going on. Whew. Oh boy. But it actually gets a little bit worse. According to Ellen, checks are being ignored or have been eliminated, and critics purged as the president is filling time by watching Fox. And by the way, he's not only filling time watching Fox, he's actually actively getting policy ideas from the pundits on Fox, and by eating dinner with people who feed his ego and conspiracy theories and who drink in his rants. That's not my writing, that's Mike Allen. Now, he also says that both sides are getting more polarized and dug in, making the daily reality more absurd and the potential consequences less urgent and able to grab people's serious attention. So, look, I think that is normalization. That's what he's referring to. And look, I think that normalization is actually going to be one of the most dangerous lasting consequences of the Trump presidency. Now, look, I think the worst actual consequence of the Trump presidency will be the environmental destruction, right? So, look, you destroy the environment, you can't undestroy it. When that carbon gets in the atmosphere, you can't pull it back out. We don't have the technology to do that, right? You can't undo all the damage. Like, once that coal ash gets into the river, it's really hard to clean it back up. So that's a big problem, right? But what I mean is the institutional destruction that the normalization of somebody like President Trump is doing. Look, by the shredding of norms, checks, and balances, that's you're doing lasting harm to our democratic institutions, okay? The normalizations of Trump's politics, again, is terrible because when you think about it, there could be somebody far worse after Trump. And I know partisan Democratic loyalists think, no, Donald Trump's the worst thing ever. Oh my God, he's so fucking terrible, right? Well, there always happens to be someone worse. And there's no doubt that Trump is absolutely terrible. It's the worst thing that we've seen. But remember, we also said the same thing about George W. Bush during the Bush administration. Oh, nobody could be this dumb afterwards. I mean, George W. Bush, dumbest president ever, worst blundering president, got us into wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Nobody could be as bad as George W. Bush. Oops. Are you sure? Now we have Donald Trump. Now we have somebody who's far worse. And by the way, this is how George W. Bush is being rehabilitated, which, again, is a disaster because the guy's a war criminal. But look, there was somebody worse than Bush, and there's definitely probably somebody worse than Donald Trump. But now we have normalized Trump. So now here we go. We get to a point where worse can definitely happen. Definitely can happen. So, and look, that's because he is not the disease himself. He is the symptom of the disease. And the conditions that got him elected in the first place, well, they haven't gone away. We still have income inequality, record income inequality. We still have a huge amount of racism in this country. We have a problem with media consolidation. Sinclair, for example, is a far-right station. They're getting more powerful. They could possibly reach into over 70% of American homes. So the conditions that we have, yes, those are conducive to another Trump-like presidency. Now, we could stop that, of course, and, we could do that by electing real progressive. Like, we could get real progressives elected in 2018 and 2020. Like, they talk about the blue wave. And John Adirola of TYT, he wrote a fantastic piece where he said, look, a blue wave, that's not enough. We don't just need to sweep in, as we're going to do, or as it seems like it's going to happen, sweep in a bunch of corporate Democrats that aren't going to do anything and just going to get swept out the next midterm. No, we need to actually get real progressives who are going to fight for a real vision into office. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then things are not going to change whatsoever. So, and look, to those of you who thought that, look, if Trump gets in, He's going to be so bad, which he is. He'll be so bad that everybody, left, right, center, they're going to revolt and throw him out or get him impeached. That's not going to happen. You're dead wrong. Donald Trump, with the exception of a few Republicans, you got your Jeff Flakes and your Bob Corkers and things like that, and your John McCain. With the exception of those few Republicans, Donald Trump has basically had the entire Republican Party swear fealty to him. That is now the party of Trump. So they have openly accepted him as their standard bearer. This is the new normal. This has been normalized already. So, and look, even though you have some staffers and some Republicans are worried, they're not going to throw him out because the base absolutely loves him. They love President Trump. No, if you want them out, you got to stop appealing to, and I'm talking to Democrats here, okay? You got to stop appealing to Republicans. Like, I don't understand why there are Democrats out there like, we need to go and appeal to the suburban Republicans. No, those people are solidly on the side of Trump. They absolutely love him, even if they're like, that thing that he said about women, disgusting. You know what? I'm still gonna pull the lever for him because, well, at least he's better than a Democrat. Come on. Stop trying to court Republicans and actually try to court progressives. Why? Because we actually make up more of the country, for one. And number two, we're actually right on the issues. So stop trying to get Republicans. But look, I know why they do it. It's because that's what their donors want. Their donors want lower taxes, deregulation. So that's what we get. Lower taxes, deregulation. We get corporate Democrats that vote for that almost every time. Deregulating the banks, for example. And look, the only real solution to this is to elect progressives. We have to elect progressives. And look, if you want to remove Trump, then elect real progressives who are actually going to hold him accountable for the terrible things that he does on policy. Not just because, oh, he's a bad man and we disagree with him some of the time. No. We have to hold him accountable for his policies. Things like destroying the environment and deregulating banks and deregulating industry and all that stuff. And if you want that, you've got to vote for progressives. And you've got to get involved. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.